Coming up on the Angus Report, we hear from past Angus Association board president and revered cattle rancher Minnie Lou Bradley. Then, Lee Bork shares his insights on risk management he's learned after 4 decades in the industry. This is the Angus Report. Hello and welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera. Our top news this week. 2 weeks ago, collegiate livestock judging contestants competing at the National Champion Contest in Louisville, Kentucky, vied for top honors. It's a North American international livestock exposition tradition, and its roots trace back to the Chicago stockyards, where the first competition was held in 1900. Past American Angus Association board president and chairman Minnie Lou Bradley was the first woman to earn high individual honors at the 1952 North American competition when it was still held in Chicago. We caught up with the cattle industry leader to talk about her time judging livestock in college. The Oklahoma native was the first woman to graduate from Oklahoma State University with a degree in animal husbandry.
I do not know why, but when I was in the 5th grade, I announced to my folks that I was going to go to Oklahoma and go to school. I had no idea that there wasn't any girls. I was going to be on their judging team come hell or high water. So I got up there and I didn't know that I was causing a lot of problems for everybody. I happened to be the first girl to ever enroll in the School of Agriculture, and particularly in animal science. And the first time we had animal evaluations, Mr. Bratcher was the coach. And I walked up to him after that first day in class as a freshman and said, "I'm going to be on your judging team." In 1952, I was at Chicago at the International on the judging team. I had a really good day and one thing, and I was being scooted around all over Chicago because I was the first girl to do it, and I didn't know what's happening to me, really.
Minnie Lou is still active in the cattle industry and on the ranch at 85 years old, and she shows no signs of slowing down. In mid-November, the House approved the GOP Tax Plan that potentially will reduce income taxes for farmers and ranchers. That's according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. Meanwhile, the full Senate is expected to vote on its version of the bill in the near future. A handful of Republican senators with reservations about the bill might prolong that vote. With a narrow majority of 52 to 48, the Senate GOP cannot afford to lose many votes if the bill is expected to be passed along party lines. Both the House and Senate versions of the bill have pros and cons. However, many farm groups say both would be a step in the right direction. Lawmakers continue to debate the hot topic, and we'll keep you up to date. What's your criteria for selecting the right females for your herd? And what steps do you take to ensure that female is set up for a prosperous future? The decisions you make today will affect your operation for years to come. So it's important to make the most informed decision possible. Texas A&M University professor Cliff Lamb led an Angus University breakout session at the 2017 Angus Convention. He prompted producers to focus on reproduction and shared his wisdom with attendees.
If you can pick the animals that become pregnant early in their very first breeding season as heifers, those animals will remain in the herd longer and they will produce greater weaning weights in the operation. And so one of the things that I think we often lose sight of is the fact that we really don't put enough pressure on our herd for pregnancy. And so I was fortunate enough to use a herd as a case study, and what we did is we incorporated multiple rules into that herd so that every cow had pressure on her to perform from a reproductive standpoint in that operation. The 3 rules that we required of every female is that they had to calve by the time they were 24 months of age with their first calf. They had to have a calf once a year, every year, and any cow that had a calving issue at calving, whether it be a mild assistance all the way to a C-section, those animals were culled from the herd if they did not meet those requirements.
Managing females includes monitoring nutritional demands during cow pregnancy too. Kansas State Extension beef specialist Sandy Johnson encouraged producers to mark down the start date of their pregnant cow's third trimester, calling it the most unappreciated day of the year. In an article, she says it marks a significant upward shift in nutritional requirements of the cow. A thick winter hair coat only makes it more challenging to examine body condition to determine nutritional needs. Johnson often credits trouble rebreeding young cows with producers' failure to meet energy demands of cows through their entire pregnancy. If producers increase energy in the diet at the start of the third trimester, then cows can progress steadily to gain the needed weight. Wait too long, and the cow's diet needs a higher energy concentration because there are fewer days to achieve weight gain. Marking the start of a cow's third trimester can save producers money by lowering feed costs in the long term, reducing replacement rates, and producing heavier and healthier calves. Johnson urges ranchers to start planning ahead. Test forages, adjust rations accordingly, and determine body condition scores of your cows. You'll likely improve calf performance and better control your production costs. Agriculture associations and USDA Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue aren't as optimistic that the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, renegotiations will end well for the agriculture industry. Perdue made known his contingency plans to support farmers and ranchers should the U.S. completely pull out of the agreement. Based on recent statements, U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross might walk back on their promise to do no harm to the agriculture industry during NAFTA renegotiations. Neither seem to understand the potential loss farmers and ranchers would experience without NAFTA. Pulling out of NAFTA would be a gut-wrenching hit to the agriculture industry and economy, one that would affect almost every sector in agriculture. The fifth round of NAFTA talks began November 17th in Mexico City. And of course, we'll keep you updated as negotiations continue. When we return, we visit with Lee Bork, cattle feeder since 1978 and chairman of Innovative Livestock Services. Then we share a tribute to Rich Wilson, past association chief financial officer and association employee since 1969. Visit angus.media to continue watching this episode of the Angus Report.